Welcome everybody, it's Matt from GamersLedge.com and I am here with Mike.
Hello.
And we are going to go ahead and do an opening of the Versus system box that is being sold here at GenCon. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Well, you can do that. Star all over there.
Alright, so these various tokens here. On the back, you've got threes. So that's your -1/-1 counters, +1/+1, XPs, and
now XP is something new to this version of the system, right? That wasn't in the old version.
that's right. Yes, yeah. So you've got your level 1 character cards, and depending on what you've got different effects here, and depending on what you do with it, you gain XP. So for instance, Captain America, every time you team attack and stun somebody, you get an XP. It's a card like Wolverine that if you do a solo attack and stun them, you get an XP. So it depends on the character.
And that's the difference between the black cards and the gold cards, right? Once you gain enough XP, you can switch over to the gold card.
That's right. That's right. So everybody starts with their level 1 and their level 2 character, but you can only play the level 1 character at first until you get enough XP to level them up. All right, so we'll see how they got them separated here. So right here we got Captain America level 1 and level 2. So level 1, they both got 2 powers, but the second one is always the XP condition. On the level 2, you've usually got 2 powers. The second one's usually a pretty good effect, which is why you want to get them to level 2 as soon as possible. So this one you got Hulk. Hulk is a pretty good one. A lot of people say he's a strong front runner for the Avengers decks that you'll be seeing at the 10K, mainly because he gets the +1/+1 counter for each wound he has. Iron Man. Iron Man's pretty good. He gives a lot of -1/-1 counters, and gives themselves and the characters in his team a lot of extra 1/1 counters for powering up.
And interestingly enough, there the art they used is the art from Iron Man #1 from the new comics reboot. So they're already using art from the reboot that hasn't happened yet post Secret Wars. So
wow, okay,
it's kind of interesting. Anyway,
so Spider-Man, this is your 4th Avengers main character.
And there are 4 for each faction.
There is, yes. And he's going to do a lot of defending stuff. So instead of one of your supporting characters defend, he'll usually end up making himself the defender. So you got Ant-Man. Ant-Man's actually a really good one. 2/2 cancels the first combat.
Now those are more like the traditional characters from the original. That they're the ones you're actually playing on the field.
Right, right. So your main character is going to start in play. The rest of them, you're going to have to pay the resource points in order to put them into play.
It's kind of like UFS a little bit, but
right. So here's your Black Widow. Comes into play. She puts a -1/-1 counter on any character. Black Panther. He's ferocious, so he always gets his attack off first. 3/2. He's also got 2 health, which is amazing for a 2-point character.
Yeah, why don't you just quick go over what the numbers on the card mean? Just,
sure. So on your upper left here, you've got the amount it costs to put it into play. So for this one, you need 2 resources to put into play. You've got your attack and defense value. Attack's on the left, defense is on the right, and your health value right here on the bottom right-hand corner. So this one's got 1. So when he becomes stunned, or if somebody attacks it for 3 or more damage in a turn, and it takes just 1 damage from that, it immediately goes away. If it has 2, it takes 2 times, 3 times, etc. And again, with your main characters, a lot of the time you'll see like 5 or 6. I don't think I've seen anything above or below those numbers. So here you've got Hawkeye. He gives +3/+0 to himself if you've got the right condition here, and range characters can't strike back against him, because in this game, range characters can attack somebody, but they can't be. Nobody can strike back against them unless they also have range. So range characters in this version of Versus is a lot more powerful than it was before. So Nick Fury, he puts cards right into the resource row from the top of your deck, so it's resource acceleration there. Captain America, he's leader. There are several characters in here with that leader keyword. While they're team attacking, you get to choose who the defender strikes back against in that team attack. So normally your opponent gets to choose, but this time you take that choice from them.
Okay. Now, how does that work? If you're playing your leader card as Captain America, can you play a supporting character?
No, so you can only have one version of Captain America and play at a time.
Before,
right. But you can use the extra Captain Americas in your hand to power up your character, which in this game gives them a permanent +1/+1 counter.
Okay. So they stack as counters.
Right.
So they still have value in your hand. Even
Yes.
If you, okay.
So you can at least put them in there for that generic 1/1 pump. So he's your Spider-Man supporting character. He can't be ranged attack, which makes sense because he can dodge. He's Spider-Man. And this one lets you pull back row enemies to its front row. So kind of like that web effect. That's kind of what I like about the Versus game, I guess, is you kind of feel like
they actually built the powers around the characters.
Right. They remind you of the characters themselves. So next we got Miss Marvel. Another 2 health character, which is great. Always good to see that. And she gets a +1/+1 counter for each other range character on your side. So that's pretty good. So here you got Luke Cage, 7/6. Can't be stunned during this combat. He receives a wound. So. Oh, I see. So if he doesn't get stunned during this combat, he doesn't receive a wound if you use his power. So that's a pretty good one right there.
Now, what's the green fist on the?
So for a lot of these characters, you'll see these little symbols. The green fist on him, or for instance on her, you'll see this little energy-looking symbol. Those represent the different. And so right here you've got the. I'm not exactly sure what that is,
Looks
but
like
that's
the female symbol.
Yeah,
kind of, but not
with
really.
a gear, right?
Yeah, with a gear on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So these different ones you'll see on location cards. Locations are cards that go into your resource row, and they count as resources for one. But you can also turn them face down in order to activate these powers.
Okay.
So here you've got Doctor Strange. Another power as well. You choose a character and turn all of its 1/1 counters into -1/-1 counters.
Nice.
Kind of simulate that magic, I guess. And he's also got Flight. So in this game, Flight lets you go from your front row to your opponent's back row, unless they have somebody in their front row that has Flight.
Okay.
So you got Iron Man here, who's our first flight and range character. So that's going to allow him to attack from your back row all the way to your opponent's back row.
Nice.
5/7. He's inventive. So when he appears, you may turn one of your face down locations face up, and he's a 6-cost character. Yeah. So now we've got Thor. Looks like his power is you put 3 -1/-1 counters on an enemy character. He's also got 2 health. 2 health is always good to see. And one of my favorites, Hulk, 7 costs, 7/7. If he has just 1 wound, you get to put 7 1/1 counters on him. So he gets huge if he gets wounded. Yeah. But I mean, at the cost of 7, he's got to have something good here. So now we're moving on to the plot twist that can only be used if you have a team member that's Avengers on your team, as you can see by the symbol in the upper right-hand corner here. And this one is, so the symbol here means you can play it anytime. You can play it during your combat, during your opponent's turn, and he's in combat with you, basically any turn. And this one has an effect of you choose a character, he gets +2/+2 this combat. So this is one that at first, when it was first shown, a lot of people were talking about how it was going to be a staple and how everybody needs it in their decks, but now that people are actually getting a chance to play the game, I'm finding out that they're saying that this isn't as good as they thought it was originally. This is the Think Again plot twist. Again, you can play it during any combat, and you can use it to cancel the combat entirely. Yeah, like I said, it got a lot of steam. A lot of people were talking about how it was going to be a staple, but it turns out in playtesting it hasn't been that great. This one is Stark Tech. Put a 1/1 counter on a character on your side, and it gains range this turn. And as we already said, range is a pretty good effect.
So that'll be a nice. And those plot twists again. Those would kind of be, what were they? They were like events in the original version. Was that what they were? Or
no, they were still plot twists. Yeah. But the difference was you were able to play them from the resource row in the last game, but in this game you could only play them from your hand.
Oh, okay.
They say it's a way to simplify the game.
Yeah.
All right, so here we've got Avengers Mansion. So this is the first of the locations here. This one's actually going to generate any color of your choice.
For an Avengers.
For an Avengers character only, right? So every team has one of these for their team. So this is the one for the Avengers. All right, so this one, these four, the next four that I'll show you are plot twists that are generic. Any team can use them. And they're probably going to be in every single one of these here. So the first one is open fire. You can use it in any combat. Choose an attacker to get +2/+0 this combat. So just a generic pump for an attacker. Another one for an attacker. Best offense is a good defense. Choose an attacker to get +0/+5 this combat. So you can use it to make sure your attacker doesn't get stunned by the defender. Savage Surprise. So this one's your nasty surprises for your defenders. Choose a defender to get +4/+0 this combat. So if they think they're going to get an easy attack out of you, you can make sure you stun their attacker as well. And Find Cover. Choose a defender to get +0/+3 this combat. Again, that's just to make it a little bit harder for your opponent to stun it as easily as they may think they can.
Who's that?
I'm not sure.
I have to figure out who that is. And like the shell around, but
Like a shield on top too. Or,
yeah.
I'm not sure who that is.
No. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that going, who the heck is that?
Yeah. So that's it for.
All right, so that's the Avengers deck.
Yes.
And now, as before, you can mix and match any of the
teams. Yeah. So they did place a bigger emphasis on making sure that your team affiliations are matching. You can only team attack with a character that's on the same team. So Avengers have to be team attacking with Avengers. But there are cards in this set that will allow you to play.
Star-Lord.
Yeah, like Star-Lord, for instance, allows you to team up. And by that I mean all your characters count as Guardians of the Galaxy characters as well. So your Guardians of the Galaxy characters can team attack with the Avengers, for instance, or X-Men characters, for instance.
Now, that was one thing I was wondering about. I don't know if you've read a lot of the rules right now. So does it replace their affiliation, or does it add the affiliation? So Avengers. So if you play the Peter Quill ability while you have Avengers characters out, do they have both Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes, they get both.
So they get both.
Everybody gets both at that point. So here, you also see the locations. So again, each location has its own little symbol. So if you see a power with this symbol, you just flip it face down and then do what it says afterwards.
Okay.
So that's the training grounds there. These are your laboratories that produce that symbol. The academy, which produces that symbol. So now it looks like a light bulb.
It makes it. Now it looks right. The cards were so tiny you can't.
It looks
tell
closer.
What it is.
Yeah, when you see the closer look. And then this is your fortress.
Okay.
So those are the different types there.
Pack 2.
Yeah, there's 4 teams, but only 3 packs here. So I guess we'll see how that. Oh, I see the 4th one now. Okay.
You pulled it out already.
Oh, okay.
You're confusing yourself.
I am.
That's okay.
Okay.
If you,
So now we're on to the Guardians of the Galaxy, it looks like. So here's the main characters here. So you got Rocket Raccoon.
Obviously, especially after the movie, he was going to be
Absolutely, yeah. There's no way they couldn't put him in here. So his is pretty interesting. It looks like you're going to have to try to bum rush your opponent the best you can, because he only gains XP when you have no cards in your hand. But you only have to use it or get 1 XP to level him up, though. His level 2, on the other hand, helps get more cards back into your hand by letting you pick 2 random cards from your KO pile and put them back into your hand. So
nice.
Star-Lord, he's basically big on the recruitment, so you pay 1 less to recruit your next character during your turn. And then whenever you recruit a character, as soon as you do, Star-Lord's going to gain an XP. His level 2, exact same thing. You still pay 1 less to recruit your characters, but also each enemy character loses its powers this turn if you want. So Gamora, this is actually a new one. I don't think I've seen this one yet. But it looks like she stuns an enemy character in the turn. You get to put 2 1/1 counters on her, and she levels up when she stuns a main character. You have to do that 3 times to level her up. Again, same power on the top here for the level 2, but the bottom one is you have to pay 2 of that cost, so 2 locations with that symbol. And then, but when she this turn, when she stuns a character, you KO it. I'm guessing you use that for the main character. Stun the main character, you KO it, you win the game immediately.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. That's the victory condition.
Yes, yeah. As soon as you stun, if you stun the main character enough times, so for instance, Storm here, she's got 5 health. You hit her 5 times, you win the game.
Okay.
So next one here, we've got Groot. Groot gets a 1/1 counter in this combat for each resource on your side. So the more resources you play, the better. So the resource acceleration is probably really good with Groot here. And then I am Groot, so you have to level him up with 5 XP. When you gain a resource, Groot gains an XP. So after your 5th resource, he gets level 2. Right. Or if you have resource acceleration, you get it faster. Yeah. So same thing, still gets +1/+1 that's coming for each resource on your side. But the second power here is you can heal a wound from each character on your side, and then Groot goes back to level 1. So it's a one-time use thing. And the other thing to remember is if you do that, because he's a 7/7 here, if you bring him back to level 1, he's back down to a 1/1. So it's a trade-off.
Now, can you re-level him back up?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
But you'll need to do another 5 resources to do so.
Yeah,
so it's a hard ability.
That would seem to be a tricky card.
Yeah, a little bit on the hard side. It's Cosmo. You got a 1/3 with range, which is pretty good. Not bad stats for the defense. When he appears, you choose an enemy character. It loses and can't gain keyword or superpowers until he becomes stunned or leaves play. So you basically shut off somebody's powers while he's in play.
Nice.
So you've got Yondu. Yondu can stun a supporting character with cost 3 or less, which is pretty amazing, actually, with cost 3 or less, and he's only a 1 cost.
Yeah.
It only requires that 1 symbol, and he's got 2 health, so he sticks around for a little while. That's actually a pretty strong character.
Yeah,
right
and anyone
there.
who's confused, that's what Yondu looks like in the comic books as opposed to the movie, so...
Right. So you got Major Victory here. Push an enemy character to its back row, but you can only do that during the main phase. So I guess the benefit of that would be to make sure that they can't attack.
Can't attack, so if they don't have range, then they wouldn't be able to attack.
To strike back, exactly.
So they actually have the original Guardians in here too, not just the current Guardians, but he's one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
From the year 3000 or whatever it was.
Right, right. So we got Mantis.
Now, there's been a lot running around about this ability being kind of broken. I don't know if it's going to play out that way or not, but...
It depends, yeah. I'd like to see what the playtesting turns out or sees for that. I haven't heard too much about it myself, but it is pretty good. When she gets KO'd, you can turn her immediately into a face-down resource on your side. So she immediately... I mean, there's really no downside to that. She's a body, and then when she dies, she immediately brings some value to the table and letting you put those bigger guys into play the next turn. So that actually really is a strong ability when looking at it. All right, so the next card we got here is Agent Venom. So this one you get to put 2 1/1 counters on Agent Venom. So that's for each one of these symbols that you have. So if you have multiple locations, you can make them quite large. But he's already pretty big though.
3/3 for
2 cost. Yeah. The only downside may be that 1 health, but that seems to be a common occurrence with a lot of these supporting characters, anyways.
Aside from the main characters, health is not a big commodity here.
No, it isn't.
I mean, I get it.
So next we got the supporting character version of Rocket. So this one you get to put a card from your KO'd pile into your hand, so that kind of seems to be his deal here.
Yeah.
A lot of that. Next card here we've got Gamora. She's got lethal. That's a new keyword we haven't seen yet. When she attacks and stuns a supporting character, you immediately KO it. Doesn't matter how much health it has. That's a pretty good ability, and she has 2 health to boot.
Herself, yes.
So next we've got Nova. So Nova's force speed. You pay the symbol there and you ready him. So that's not bad at all. 4 cost 5/5, only 1 health, but still pretty good ability.
So basically, you could
attack and
then ready and then attack again.
Right, as long as he's not stunned, you just have to make sure you attack somebody way lower than him.
Yeah.
All right, so Starward, this is the team up we were talking about here. So not only does he have leader, that while he's team attacking, you get to choose who the defender strikes back against, which is already good enough. But he also has that team up here. Each supporting character on your side is also a Guardians of the Galaxy supporting character. So he doesn't immediately give himself. So if he's teamed up with the Avengers, he doesn't immediately become an Avenger, but he ensures that everybody else becomes a Guardians of the Galaxy character. So you can still team attack,
right?
But he just won't count as Avengers for those purposes,
right?
And he's also a 3/6, so he's got that big defense to help him stick around a little bit longer. But you'll definitely want to keep him protected because he's only got 1 health. But at least he's got range, so you can hide him in that back row pretty easily.
Lead from the back.
Yes, that's right. So next we've got Groot. His power here is I am Groot. He gets +1/+1 for each resource on your side. So he starts out as 0/0. But if you play him on turn 5, he's going to be a 5/5 for 2 health. And he only gets bigger every turn. So it's a pretty good card, actually. I think I'd rather play him supporting than main character right now.
Yeah, that's kind of feeling that way. Yeah, as a 5-drop, that means he's almost guaranteed to come out as a 5/5.
Right.
And if someone can't take him out right away, it's just going to get
pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So next here we've got Moondragon. This one you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put one in your hand, and the others on the bottom of your deck. So little deck recursion there. She comes out late, 5 cost, and she's got range.
It seems like it seems like it should be an earlier. That seems like a 3-drop power. Not a 5. It seems kind of you're getting pretty desperate at 5 if you're playing that as an ability.
I agree. So I'm not exactly sure. I mean, if I had to choose between 5-drops, I'd still think I'd stick with the Groot there. Yeah. The Groot's definitely the powerhouse of the 2. So next one is Quasar here. She turns a location face down. Also got flight and range. So this to me looks like a pretty good card.
So basically it says turn all location, so that you could be using it against yours for an ability or an opponent's to restrict a resource.
Right. So if they play something and you're afraid they're going to use a power during a combat that they can only use during combat, you play this first to make sure that you lock them out of that ability. It's not bad. Drax. All right, so he's got another keyword I think we haven't seen yet here. So Berserker, when he attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on him. So that's immediately as soon as he attacks. Even if your opponent cancels the attack, he still gets the 1/1 counter. So that was a ruling that was made.
Before damage is resolved, you actually put the counter on him. Oh, wow, okay.
And he's also got grab here. So while he's...
Joey Crow, Bart, Jason Brindley, and Todd Warren.
And there's the there's the challenge of doing that at a live event. You never know what's going to happen.
Right. All right, so he's also got that grab ability here. While he's in the front row, enemy characters can't fly over him. So characters with flight can't fly over him to attack the person that's in the support row behind him.
Related to the movie.
Right. Nothing flies over.
My head.
I will catch it. Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly like the line from the movie.
Yes, that is a nice little tie-in there.
All right, so here we've got Adam Warlock. He's your highest cost character in the Guardians team here. He's got flight. Adam Warlock, he appears stunned. So apparently as soon as you put him into play, he comes into play stunned. But you can pay the green here to recover him and ready him. So use his power only while he's stunned.
Wow, so basically it's like he just came out of the cocoon and you gotta do something to charge him up and ready him.
Right.
Because he's only a one health there, so if you don't do that right away, he's at risk.
Yes.
But you get him up and he's a 13-13 with
that's immediately ready,
that's
so that's, I mean, Hulk starts out at 7-7 until you get him wounded, then he's a 14-14, but he immediately becomes pretty big.
Of course, that's round 7, so if you get to round 7...
Right.
You're looking to put a nail in it.
You have to. Yeah, that's when they're looking to want those games to end. It seems like in this one, around turn 7.
So it does seem like they were trying to go for a faster game here. Than with the original.
Yes, and if you look at the interviews and stuff, you do find out that's exactly what they were going for in this one. They felt that the original verses could drag on too long.
Good.
Yeah,
remember
especially with the formation steps.
That Hugo deck that just stalled deck.
Yes.
Stalled
in fact, one of the lead designers talked about that himself.
We need these tables for games. We need to wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds like we're going to be relocating, and we'll pick this up again later. All right, everybody, we're back. We had a quick relocation, and we're back into cracking open the Versus system.
All right, so one thing I did notice as we were sitting back down here is all the locations here for each of the teams is the exact same location. So again, you've got the training grounds, the laboratories, the academy, and the fortress. It looks like it's the exact same for all 4 teams here. So you're actually going to get 4 locations. You're only allowed to have 4 of each color in your deck anyway, so you're actually going to have a location set for every one of the teams. So you can actually make a deck for every one of the teams right out of the box.
That's pretty cool, because that was one of the things I was wondering, if I did pick up a box, would I be able to make 2 viable decks, out of one box? Which looks like you probably can.
It looks like you can, yeah. That's good to know. So next here we've got the plot twist for the Guardians of the Galaxies. So here we've got Vigilante Justice. You can play it at any time, it looks like, because it's got that symbol here on the upper left-hand corner. This one you get to choose a character to become ferocious this combat, which means during a melee combat, it strikes before all the enemy characters. But what I mean by melee is if you're attacking from the front row at any time, it's immediately a melee attack. Even if you're a ranged character attacking from the front, you're still a melee attacking. You're only range attacking if you're attacking from the back row. Yeah, so this is good for your front row attackers here. Next here we've got even the odds. So again, you can play this during any combat here. This one you remove all 1/1 counters from an enemy character in the combat. That character's current attack and defense becomes the same as its base attack and defense this combat. So that's pretty huge, especially when you're attacking somebody like Groot, who's a 0/0, but becomes 1/1 for every resource. You can immediately make him a 0/0 again and instantly stun him.
Nice.
Because that not only does it get rid of any counters, but it makes them base 0/0.
And when they go to 0, even with effect, they automatically
immediately get stunned. Yeah, you don't even have to attack them. As soon as they're 0 defense, they're done. So here you got give them a lift. This one's put a 1/1 counter on a character on your side, and it gains flight this turn. So it can attack from the front row to your opponent's back row. So here's your multicolor location for the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nowhere.
Yep. Every team gets one of those as well. And then your 4 generics. You know, your +2 attack to an attacker, your +5 defense to an attacker, your +4 attack to a defender, and your +3 defense against a defender. So this is something that all the teams get as well, one of each. So I guess this probably would be the one downside. You're only going to get a playset of this, that you only can use one playset of all the generics throughout all your decks. You are going to have to switch those out, it looks like.
So you can have 4 of those at a time.
Right, in one deck. So you are going to have to switch those between decks. So that would probably be the one downside. So you get plenty of locations for all the decks, but not plenty of the generic plot twist for some reason.
Right.
I'm not sure why that was. All right, so now we're going to go into the X-Men team.
And again, that's going to have the same 4 basic actions, the same 4 resources, so we won't need to go through those.
So here we got the characters. I'm actually particularly excited about X-Men. I don't know, I guess I'm just a big X-Men fanboy here. So first up, we've got Storm. She's going to put 2 -1/-1 counters divided as you choose on up to 2 enemy characters. So you can actually put them on the same character. So that's actually a pretty good ability there. When you activate his superpower, she gains an XP. You'll need 3 of those to level her up to level 2. Where she gets another power now, where it says characters on your side will gain flight this turn. So it means there's nowhere for your opponent's characters to hide. Can't put them in the support row anymore. So here next we've got Wolverine. Wolverine's ability here says Snicked. Wolverine gets +3/+0 this combat. So it's just a generic +3 attack pump form. Whenever he makes a solo attack and stuns an enemy character, he gains an XP. So you need 3 of those solo attacks in order to level him up here.
And those are anytime, so you can do it on attack or defense. It's got the little symbol in front of it, right? That with the
yes. So you can use this power during any combat, yours or your opponent's. So here, his secondary power here is you get to heal a wound from Wolverine. So that's a pretty good ability. Makes it even harder for your opponent to finish the game. Helps you win the race a little bit. Next one is a pretty popular one. I actually like this one a lot, this one's Deadpool here. Deadpool is going to say characters on your side are lethal this turn. So as soon as they stun a character, that character immediately gets KO'd. Doesn't matter how much health they have, so that's great. He's also got range here, and then his power here, and I'll go ahead and read it. It says, man, there's no one left to kill. So at the end of your turn, if all of your enemy players' characters are stunned, he gains an XP. So you have to stun everybody on their side of the board in order to gain an XP. Pretty hard to pull off, if you ask me. But if you can manage to pull that off 3 times, then you get the benefit of getting to his level 2 power. So it still gives everybody on your side lethal here. But the second one is, so first he said, man, there's no one left to kill. Second one says, oh, there's somebody, hi there. So basically he finds the player, breaks the 4th wall here. It says, for the rest of the game, Deadpool can attack enemy players directly. What that means is, a player can only be attacked if all of its characters are stunned. So you have to stun all of their characters again first, and then, while defending, the player is a 0/1, so he only has 1 defense, no attack, only has 1 health, and counts as a supporting character. So the ruling on that basically says they become you the player become a 0/1 character with 1 health. So if Deadpool himself attacks and stuns you, then you're out of the game because you're dead. He killed the player. He completely, yes, he completely circumvented the main character and went straight for the player. So it's a pretty fun ability there.
So this is like him in Marvel or Capcom versus Marvel when he grabs his own life bar and beats the player to death.
Yes, yeah. So that's one of the great things about Deadpool. And it's great that they really captured that here on this card. An interesting thing is, I guess, so Deadpool, even if he's the same team affiliation as another attacker, he can't team attack the player because the other supporting characters don't know what a player is. So it's just funny that that's exactly how they worded that in the actual ruling form. So that's a fun card there. So next we got Professor X. So for him is for the build, you play during the build phase. You can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. You put a character from among them into your hand, and then the rest go on the bottom in any order. So he basically cycles for that character you're looking for. His level up is very interesting, though. At the end of your turn, if you didn't make any attacks this turn, then he gains an XP. So you have to not attack to gain the XP. And you have to do that for four times in order to get to his level 2. So that's wow. I'd like to see how that works. I'm not really seeing it right now. The second one here is you ready a face-up enemy character and move it to your front or back row. At the end of your turn, you move it back. So you can basically steal one of your opponent's characters, ready it, and then attack them with their own character. But you can also use it on your own character. Say you've got a big 14-14 beat stick that you really want to use again. You can ready them, move them to your front row, and attack with them again. So it doesn't have to be an opponent's character, but, you know, if you see somebody you want to take, or you want to take their main character and get their main character stunned on your side of the board by setting it into an unfavorable attack on purpose, you can also do that as well. But again, in order to get to that level 2, you got to not attack for 4 turns. So that
seems unlikely.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. So for the first of the supporting characters here, you got Iceman. Here he's got Freeze. When he appears, you exhaust a character, and it can't ready during its next turn. He's got range. He's a 2/1 with 1 health. So it's pretty common stats for a character his size. And the freeze ability is not bad. You can also use it on a stun character, so that ruling was made too. It doesn't have to be a face-up character. That's not stun. So that was just a common question that kept coming up, it looks like, around here. So next you've got Magic. She's also a 1-cost. She's a 3/2, which is amazing for a 1-cost character. Her ability here is you put Magic and up to 1 other supporting character on your side into your hand. So it could be good if somebody who's huge, like say somebody who's way out of the attack range of her, she's not going to stun him back anyways, and you just want to get her back to your hand so you have extra cards in your hand. Maybe play her as a resource later. You can do that. I can see why that ability would be good there. I mean, she's also just a really big body. Yeah, that's always good too. So you got Hope. The Hope is a really fun card here. She's a 2/4, 1 health, but her power here is Hope has all the powers of each other face-up X-Men supporting character on your side. So she gets everybody's powers, including flight and range. So that could be good depending on what powers you have. But I mean, she'll have Magic's ability, Iceman's ability. So the moment she comes into play, you can freeze somebody, and then you can also put her and somebody else back into their hand. I mean, that's just 2 of the abilities with just the cards we've seen so far. So next you've got Cyclops here. Cyclops has got leader. He's another one with that leader keyword. While he's team attacking, you choose the defender that your opponent can strike back against. And then here's his other power here. You move a character on your side to your front or back row. So you can basically do that outside of the normal phase when you're able to do it anyways, in case you want to change your mind or your opponent has done something to move your characters around.
And he also has range. So
right. So you can attack.
Like a lot of the leaders have range, so it's like leading from the rear. It's
yes.
A funny thing.
It's funny, indeed. So now you got Deadpool supporting character. And this time he's got Mercenary. It says he can team attack with any main character. So if the main character is an Avengers, a Guardians of the Galaxy character, a villain even, he can still team attack with them because he's a mercenary. It makes sense. It fits his character here. Can't keep a bad man down. If Deadpool's in your KO'd pile, you can immediately put him into play. So that's a great card too. Wow. Never fully get rid of him. He's a 3/4 with range. Alright, so next you've got another 2-drop. That was after the 3-drop for some reason here, but you got another 2-cost here. He's got Flight, Invade. While he's attacking from the back row, or while he's attacking a back row character, excuse me, it can't strike back at him. So if you're attacking somebody with range or anything in the back, they can't strike back against Namor, and he's got 2 health, hard to get rid of.
Interesting that they included him with the X-Men.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So you've got Gambit. Gambit here is a 5/3. He's 1. Interesting that he doesn't have range. But he's a discarded card that costs at least as much as a face-up enemy supporting character and then stun that character. So basically, you can stun a 5-cost, or you can discard a 5-cost card from your hand to stun a 5-cost or below.
Right.
That's how that works. That's an amazing ability, actually, for a turn 3 card.
Turn 3 card, yeah.
So next you've got a 4-cost Storm. This time, for this one, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each of your enemy characters. So that's not a bad ability there itself. She's also got Flight. Pretty big defense here for 6, and only 1 health.
Now, when you stack the supporting character on the main character, do they gain the ability of the supporting character card as well?
They do not. They just get the static +1/+1, yes. That would be amazing, though, yeah.
That would be.
So here you got Beast. He's 4-cost, 5/2. Low defense, but they make up for it with his ferociousness. During melee combat, he strikes before an enemy character does. So he'll hit first before they get a chance to hit him back. At the start of your turn, if he's face up, you may draw a card. And that's the makeup for the genius fact. He's always come up with new ideas. So that's kind of how they fit his character there.
And he does have 2 health, so the 2 health with the 2
Is still pretty good.
Still get a couple good scraps on.
Right. So next you got your 5-cost supporting character Wolverine. So he's got Berserker. When he attacks, you immediately put a 1/1 counter on him, which is pretty good. He's already a 5/5 for 5, which is great. Regeneration at the start of your turn. If he's face up, you heal a wound from him. So you can afford to get him stunned once before you're going to have to heal him to keep him around to get after he gets stunned after that. But I mean, it's a great card.
And you don't have to pay for that. You just have to have him face up.
Right, exactly. It just happens immediately. So that's a good 5-cost right there. So next we've got Cable. Ultimate Soldier, only 1 health. He's a 2 attack with 7 defense, so it's harder to stun him. He's also got range, and it looks like at the end of this combat, you stun each enemy character that survived the combat. So at the end of the combat, you stun each enemy character that survived the combat. So that's not bad. So if they attack, or if you attack somebody with only your 2 attack and you don't stun them, they still get stunned anyways.
Right.
Because they weren't stunned. So I guess that's how you make up for the fact that he has only 2 attack here.
Although they had to use the worst artist ever to.
Yeah.
But that is actually a Cable and Deadpool cover, isn't it? I think.
It is.
Yeah. So.
That's right. That's right. So next we've got Colossus. Colossus is another great card. I like this one a lot too. So he's got Toss. When he appears, choose another character on your side to gain Flight this turn. So, of course, fastball special there.
Yeah.
And then you got your Organic Steel. Colossus gets +5/+5 this combat. You can use it during any combat, yours or your opponent's.
Only 1 energy. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So
And he's a 7/7 as a 6 drop.
right, and you can make him a 12/12
Wow.
for just that 1 energy anytime you want.
Whew.
And another thing to note with locations is you don't have to play them from your resource row. So if you want to use this power as a surprise, you can actually discard the location of this color from your hand to do it. So your opponent may not expect it, and you can still give it to him.
Nice trap, Yugi.
Yes, that's right. Emma Frost. So she's got ranged. So when she appears, you may have any player discard their hand and then draw that many cards. So it could be you or the opponent, depending on how you want to play that there. She's kind of small for a 6-cost, but she at least has 2 health there.
And ranged.
And ranged. Range is always good. And your 7-cost, your big 7-cost for the X-Men here is Professor X. It is a 7-cost 4/8 with ranged. This is pretty interesting. You can ready a face-up enemy supporting character and move it to your side. At the end of your turn, move it back. So it's like his level 2 power, except it's restricted to only your enemy's characters, not your own. But still, not bad. I'm not sure how he is on par with the other 7-costs, though. He's not quite as big.
Yeah, I mean, he only has 1 health. 8 defense is okay.
Right.
But
the other 7-costs we've seen so far is one that's a 13/13 and one that can become a 14/14.
right.
So
this seems like a harder deck to. This seems like a harder. I think people wanted to play this, but except I mean, the mid range ones are really good. You know.
right.
And then it seems
Kind of teeters off towards the end. They're not a strong late game, so maybe this is more of a weenie deck.
Yeah, win it early on.
Which would kind of make sense if you want to try to play as Deadpool, right? You want to stun as many of your opposing characters as possible. It would help to have small guys that could add up to bigger attack.
Right.
So maybe that's what they were going for here. All right, so for the X-Men specific plot twist, we've got X Factor. This one lets you ready a main character. So that's great if you want to attack twice with that big guy you got.
Okay, so character refers to your main character.
And a supporting character, yes.
Okay, so it could be any.
Right.
Any character.
Unless it specifically says supporting or main character, then it can be any character, right? So that one in particular would be your main or your supporting characters. So this one here lets you put a +1/+1 counter on each character on your side of the combat. Again, could be your main character. So if you're team attacking with somebody, you can give everybody that 1/1 counter,
nice.
which would again make sense with the theme we were thinking about.
Yeah.
They're probably trying to go here with the X-Men.
Yeah.
More beneficial to attack with more people at once. Right? So we got Uncanny Defense. So this one removes a defender on your side from combat and replaces it with a different character on your side, and then you switch their positions. So you basically teleport one character and switch it for the other one, like both literally on the game board itself and in terms of combat as well, because you switch that defender. And then again, as we discussed before, you've got your generic location. So this one's their school for gifted youngsters that gives them all colors, and then the usual generic plot twists and locations. So that's it for the X-Men side here, and now we're going to move on to the last group, which is the villain group. So
this is the one I actually didn't know. I had heard about Guardians, I'd heard about X-Men, I'd heard about Avengers. I actually thought it was kind of weird that there were no villains, so this one's actually a surprise for me because I haven't seen anything from the
Right, they didn't really spoil much about it at all, yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of buzz or a lot of word about that team in particular. And it's interesting that they lumped up all the villains in this game, this version of the game, into one group, as opposed to before, where you had like the Spire foes and stuff like that. They all had their own groups, so all the villains are instead one big group. All right, if I can get them out here. All right. So for the heroes, first we've got Green Goblin, which I think is actually a pretty strong character himself. This one you get to choose an enemy supporting character and stun it immediately, unless that player discards a random card. So either way, it's bad. It's interesting. It's a sadistic choice. That's a good name for that card there, and it makes sense when you think about the comics. So you take 6 XP here to level him up, and in order to level him up or to give him an XP, you have to, when an enemy character becomes stunned, he immediately gains an XP. So the more characters you stun, the better. But you need to stun 6 characters for Green Goblin's level 2. And his level 2 ability here is you immediately KO a stunned enemy supporting character. So as soon as they're stunned, you can KO them. Doesn't matter how much health they have. But it has to be supporting character.
Right.
But still pretty good.
Just going to be hard to get them there.
Yeah, exactly. So next you've got Loki. All right, so for Loki here, we've got anytime during the combat power here, you can play a instant combat plot twist from your KO pile and then shuffle it back into your deck. So that's great. You get the card back potentially later, and you get that plot twist you've already played. So his level up ability here is whenever you play a plot twist, he gains an XP. So you have to play 5 plot twists in order to get him to his level 2. And his level 2 here is choose an enemy player to reveal their hand, and then you discard all of their plot twists. So that could be pretty good to use right before an attack to make sure they have no hidden surprises or pumps for those characters. So next here, with X-Men in this set, this is no surprise, you've got Magneto. So for Magneto, he gets +0/+4 this combat, so he's more defensive in nature. He does have flight and range, which is beautiful. And then Mutant Master here. So in order to level him up, you have to, at the start of your turn, if Magneto is face up, he gains an XP. So if he's unstunned, you gain an XP. You have to do that for 4 turns. So the ruling for this one as well, somebody asked the question is, does he get an XP counter on the first turn? And he does. So right at the first turn, you immediately start with that 1 XP. You only have to do it for 3 more turns to get him to his level 2. So his level 2 power here is you get to KO a face-down resource. So you're basically making it harder for your opponent to recruit those higher-cost characters. And last but not least, we got Thanos. Thanos is a 6 health main character here, and 3/4. And his main power here is shuffle each character in a KO pile into its deck. Then put that many 1/1 counters on Thanos. So the more people that end up in the KO pile, the better for him. He's going to get huge pretty fast. So now for your level up ability here is whenever a character on any side gets KO'd, he gains an XP.
So he's XP. If his allies get killed, he's getting XP. If his enemies get killed, he's getting XP.
Doesn't matter who it is, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
But you need 6 KO'd people in order to get him to level 2 here.
So, is it just me, or does it seem like the villains are really hard to level up compared to the other ones?
It does, yeah. It seems that way so far. Yeah, it really does. It takes a lot of XP to get these guys up, but their powers so far have been pretty good.
Yeah.
But you got to get them to those level 2s. That's the hard part here. So his power here is the Infinity Gauntlet. If you notice here, it's got all 4 of the symbols. So just like him having all of the gems in order to get this power here. So for each enemy player, you stun their main character, KO one of their resources, KO one of their supporting characters, and then they discard a card from, and then they discard their entire hand. So it's a supremely powerful ability, but again, it's going to be pretty difficult to pull off when you have to KO 6 characters throughout the game. This is definitely a late game ability. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be one tough ability to pull off for sure. All right, so it looks like the villains actually have not a single 1-cost character.
What?
Yeah, there are no 1-cost characters on the villain side. They immediately go right into turn 2. So 2 costs, you got a 3/3, which is pretty big for 2 costs, though. Excuse me. You got Ronan the Accuser here. So he's got a main phase power. You get to name any card, choose an enemy player to reveal their hand, and discard each card with that name. So the ruling on this one is you don't have to know the exact name of the card. You can just describe it. You can say, you know, that one card that gives you +3 defense, that's good enough to get rid of that card from your hand. Also got 2 health, so he's sticking around for a little while. So there's no 1 cost, but it looks like they're kind of making it up for it with Ronan and his big size here. But we'll see if that's enough in the 10K when people are actually running these cards.
Yeah, because I mean, you're not seeing. I would expect with that, with no 1 levels, I would expect to see higher, attack and defense, or at least defense, on the main character cards, and they really didn't have anything better than the other sets.
No, they didn't. So it's very interesting to see.
Wild, yeah.
So next year we've got Mystique. She's a 2/4, so another big size character for 2, but only by 1 or 2 defense points here. Only 1 health. You can choose another face-up character. Her base attack and defense become the same as that character's current attack and defense for the rest of this turn. So that's pretty good. Not as good early game maybe, but late game she'll be amazing. If they've got a 7-cost 14/14 Hulk, and she becomes 14/14 as well. And she's also still affected by any 1/1 counters and stuff that she has. So if you've got an extra 1/1 counters, you can even make them bigger than the character on the opponent's side.
Wow. But the trick will be keeping her alive long enough for that to be...
Right. But I mean, even if you drew her on turn 7, she's not the worst.
No, yeah.
She's at least equal to that character.
You're deck 6, you're level 6.
Right.
Yeah.
So here you got Dr. Octopus. He's got grab. While he's in the front row, enemy characters can't fly over him. That makes sense.
Yep.
And he's genius. At the start of your turn, if he's face up, you may draw a card. So he shares an ability there with Beast. All right, so now we got the supporting character version of Green Goblin. He's got Blast. When he appears, choose an enemy row and put a 1/1 counter on each character there.
Wow.
So kind of like where his main character version was really against the support row. This one could be either one, it looks like. So it really...
you got somebody who's hanging all their people in the back row.
This will punish them.
Boom. Yeah.
That's right.
It's interesting they went with Blast instead of Goblin Bomb. I would have thought it was a Pumpkin Bomb. You would have thought that would be a Pumpkin Bomb.
Or something, yeah. Blast seems kind of generic for...
Yeah, I mean, he's got the gauntlet thing that he does his apps with, but why wouldn't you go with Pumpkin Bomb?
Right. It's interesting. So next you got Red Skull. Got ranged here. And dodge. He can't be ranged attacked at all.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. 2/4, 1 health. He's got a combat power that you can use anytime called Dust of Death. And this one lets you stun a character that is melee attacking the Red Skull. So he can't be ranged attacked, and if you try to melee attack him, he has the ability to instantly stun you. So it's going to be more beneficial for you to try to get him when you're on the defense as opposed to trying to attack him. Red Skull, or not Red Skull, we got Sabretooth. It's got Ferocious, so during melee combat, he'll get to strike before the enemy characters, same as the other Ferocious characters. And Berserker, we've seen this before in Wolverine. When he attacks, put a 1/1 counter on him immediately. 2 health, 4/4, pretty basic, but I mean, you get to attack right away, so he immediately becomes a 5/5 for 4, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's very similar to the Wolverine card.
Exactly. Excuse me there. All right, so next we've got Ultron. Another 4 cost, very small, 3/1. Flight and range though, and Swarm. You can have any number of this character on your side. This power cannot be turned off. So you've only got 4 of them in this deck, but if you decided you wanted to buy more, at least you can have more Ultrons.
It would be interesting to see if someone decides to run an Ultron Swarm deck.
Right.
At the 4 drop, that's going to be...
It's going to be kind of hard to do.
Right.
But I think this replicatability down here at the bottom might help you out here. So for build, you can use that symbol there. You can search your deck for a copy of this character and put it immediately into play, and then shuffle your deck.
Oh, there you go.
So as long as you've got this many locations, it's kind of dependent on the draw, but you can get those Ultrons out for free. But at 1 health, it's going to be kind of hard to keep them around.
Yeah. It's almost like a distraction until you can get the card or something ready that you really
Right,
want. Yeah.
exactly.
Like you could sacrifice those to charge Thanos.
Yes.
Those are getting knocked
That's right.
out, you know,
That's true.
Then you get Thanos charged up for his level 2.
Very true. That's right. So next year we've got Abomination. So he's monstrous. When he is melee team attacked, he strikes back against each attacker. So it's very beneficial for you not to team attack against this guy.
5/5 with 3 health. Is that the first 3 health we've seen?
It is the only one so far in this game.
Wow.
So he's enormous.
And you know, not a top tier character that most people think of. You know that they would do that with. You know.
Yeah.
The Abomination isn't.
I mean, not even Hulk has that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
So next year we've got the Mandarin. So they got a little power theme here to kind of represent the different rings that he wears. So depending on the color, you can either draw a card, choose an enemy player to discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on a character, or put a -1/-1 counter on a character. He's also got ranged, got a pretty big defense there, kind of low on the attack, but he's got all those powers
Yeah,
and only
so
1 health.
he's more of a buff debuff.
Right, exactly. Less of a beat stick and more of a buff debuff guy. That's right. So next year we've got Juggernaut, 6 cost, 8 attack, 5 defense. Definitely big on the attack.
He doesn't even have 3 health.
No,
Sorry,
that's wrong.
I'm kind of getting lost on this Abomination getting the 3 health here. It's just
And this guy's still stuck at just 2. So you got Unstoppable though, combat power. So while he's attacking solo during this combat, if he stuns the front row enemy character and survives, he immediately stuns that support row character as well. It's kind of that unstoppable theme that you get with Juggernaut there. Just got to make sure he doesn't get stunned on that combat, which can be kind of hard when you're a 6 cost with 5 defense. So we'll see how that goes. So you got a Magneto supporting character version here now. Flight and range, which is always great to see. 7/6, which is pretty good for a 6 cost here. And enemy supporting characters can't recover; they remain stunned. So it doesn't kill them, but at least locks them down for another turn, gives you more opportunities to attack that main character.
and that's just an inherent ability. As long as that card's face up.
That's right. There's no, you don't have to pay any location powers for that one. That's just straight up.
That is a heck of a drop 6.
It is much better to play that one, I think, than the main character.
Yeah.
All right, so they do have more higher drop characters to make up for the fact that they don't have any 1 cost, it looks like. So first for the 7 cost here, we've got Loki. Loki's got Schemer. The first time you play a plot twist each turn, you may draw a card. So it's pretty good late game. Keep that hand refreshed when your cards in your hand, maybe later on in the game.
Maybe if you're using that ability to recover the plot twist, so
Right.
wait a minute, that's the Loki.
That's
thing.
a
So you
right.
wouldn't be able to play him then. So.
No, not with the main character. Yeah, so he's only good for
And late game,
Right.
I've not play tested this, but I would feel like late game you're probably going to be running low on plot twists.
yes. So
7/8.
not bad.
bad.
Not bad. Good if you play a lot of plot twists in your deck. Depends on what kind of deck, I guess.
Yeah.
So this one we got Dormammu.
Yep.
Is that right? All right. So this one is Immortal. He's got flight. It's 6/7, so he's kind of small for a 7 drop. Maybe his powers will make up for it. It says when he's KO'd, you may shuffle him into your deck. So some recursion there. Then you got Necromancy. This requires 2 symbols here. So you get to put a character from an enemy player's KO pile onto your side. So somebody you've already killed, you can immediately put into play on your side with this
And
character.
as a 7 drop, you could be pulling some pretty decent cards.
That's right. That's right. And he's got 2 health, so he'll stick around for a little while as well. All right, so the last character here is Thanos. 8 costs here. The only 8 costs in this game. 2 health, 12/12, so he's pretty big already. Welcome Death, main. Adding wound to all stunned characters. So if you've got somebody with 2 health, and as we've seen in this game, if you're stunned and you're face down and you've got a damage on you, chances are you only need 1 more wound to go away, and this will help finish the job. So it's a pretty good character there.
Well,
but
yeah,
you got to make it to turn 8.
Turn 8. So in a game that's trying to focus on going short, this deck seems more these teams seem more focused on the long run,
Right.
which is going to be interesting to see if they can stall long enough to do combat something like the X-Men, which looks like it's like, you know, by turn 4 or 5 you should be done.
Right.
You know, can you make it to turn 8?
Right. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yes. So you got your rush strategies, and you've got your longer strategies here. So we'll see what the plot twists have to support that
What'll
theme.
really be interesting to see is how people mix and match them, because that's what's really
Yes.
going to come in. You know,
Right.
somebody will come up with some unique way of putting it together.
Where you have a strong early game and maybe a strong late game.
Yeah.
Be very interesting to see. So Extinguish. Looks like we got a plot twist here that'll let you KO a stun supporting character. So that'll help with your Thanos main character here, getting those KO characters for your XP there. And also helps you with those guys that are sticking around, or maybe the Wolverine that keeps healing himself. You finally manage to stun him. So here you got Metal and Fire. This one's put a -1/-1 counter on each enemy character in the combat. So that's pretty good for somebody who's team attacking against you. It's kind of the opposite of that X-Men character we saw, or X-Men plot twist we saw earlier. And this one you could also use during any combat. Next here we got Trickster God. This one's going to let you switch the current attack and defense of a character for this combat. So if somebody's been spending a lot of time making that character a 10-2, you can switch it around and make it to where maybe you can't stun them back, but they also can't stun you. Kind of nullifies the combat. Or maybe you've found a way to get somebody to 0 attack. You switch them, make them a 0 defense, and immediately stun them. So that's it for the plot twist there, specifically for the villains here. So again, you're going to have your generic location that provides all colors, but this one's the vaults for the villains. And then obviously your generic plot twist again, your open fire, your best defense is a good offense, savage surprise, and find cover, as well as your locations that you've seen everywhere else.
I was curious to see if the locations were going to be different with the villain set, but they're not.
But they're not.
I thought that would be a nice little twist.
No, they're the exact same. So
Well, that's the box set, right?
Right. So the overall impression I find with this game is it looks like teams are going to have a bigger emphasis in this game. Team ups aren't going to be as prevalent, because as we only saw one team up this entire set.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if anybody finds any other interesting ways to team up characters and still make it viable.
Right. So, all right. Well, I'd like to thank Mike for taking the time to go ahead and go through all these cards with us, give us some impressions and ideas, and keep tuned to gamerslife.com for all things GenCon.
Yeah.